I don't know anybody that grew up on a farm that would say that rock picking is their favorite thing to do. But I can definitely say it's a lot easier now than it was a few years ago. There, you see that? I just picked up a pretty big rock. It didn't look very big to you on the camera, I'm sure. However, that rock probably weighed about 70 pounds. This here is a rock picker made by the PFM Remlinger Company. It's basically just a dump box on wheels with a slotted floor so that the dirt can fall through and leave just rocks in the box. And then on the front, it's got a slotted rake and a super heavy duty reel to slide the rocks up the rake and into the dump box. It's a really sweet piece of equipment. Hey there, thanks for turning down my road. If this is your first time here, my name's Carl. My little brother and I both work for local farmers full time, but we both also farm together with our cattle herd and our hay operation. Everybody's involved, from the smallest to the biggest. If you don't have the joy of farming yourself, I'd love to help you experience it through this channel. Whatever your background, you found the right place. This is Dodge Brothers Farm and Ranch.
Where's the rock picker?
It's you're standing right next to it. It's that blue thing right there.
How does it pick up rocks?
You excited to see how this is going to work? All right, you're going to look out that side of the tractor and kind of in the middle and over on that side. I'm going to look out the middle and over on this side.
Okay.
And don't miss any big rocks, otherwise we might break something when we're planting corn this spring, okay?
Okay. I don't see any rocks.
So it's 11:55 and all my daughter can think about right now is lunch. How many more minutes? It's 11:57. It's been 2 minutes since you asked me last.
It's lunchtime.
Have you been looking for rocks or have you just been looking at the clock the whole time?
Well, it is lunchtime.
Zoom out. So Kaylee found this big rock and she wanted to get out and video me picking it up. And of course, when the camera's rolling and somebody else is in charge, I can never do my best work. All right, your mama's gonna be here to get you in just a little bit. You better put your coat on here. Are you gonna video me dumping the rocks?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. Bye, Kaylee.
Bye.
Thanks. Now I have bittersweet memories of picking up rocks when I was a kid. It was one of the first things that I actually got to do where I got to drive a tractor by myself. Because, let's face it, if you're going to turn a kid loose with a tractor for the first time, a wide open field with no crops growing and nothing to run over, nothing to hit is a pretty safe place to do it. So when I first started picking up rocks, I thought it was kind of cool. And then when my brother got big enough to drive the tractor too, it wasn't as cool anymore because he would pretend that he couldn't pick up the rocks. So he would drive the tractor and I would get off and pick up the rocks. And then after I got my first taste of running a field cultivator, raking hay, doing things like that, the rock picking definitely did not seem as fun. I'm looking for rocks. In fact, it'd be really embarrassing if you guys could see rocks next to me that I was driving past and missing. And if you're going to tell me in the comment section, hey, you missed a rock, you better tell me the time in the video when I missed it and where it was so I can go back and see if you're just pulling my leg. Anyway, some commonly asked questions about rock picking. One question, hey, do you just drive all over the place like a Roomba vacuum cleaner hoping that you eventually see all the rocks? No, I drive back and forth on the rows, but as I'm driving back and forth across the field, if I see a rock way over here that's probably closer to the next pass instead of the pass that I'm on, I'm still going to turn out of the path that I'm on and go get it. Because, as anybody who's ever picked up rocks before knows, just because the rock that I just saw is exactly in the path that I'm going to be taking next time, that doesn't guarantee I'm going to see it when I'm on the way back next time. So generally speaking, I stick to the row, go back and forth and skip, 20, 30 rows, 40 rows and go back the other direction. And that way I know that I've covered the entire field to a reasonable extent. And hopefully I've seen all the big rocks and gotten them picked up, the really big ones. But there's always going to be some rocks that are going to get away from you, even though you've pretty much covered the whole field. Particularly rocks that are dark blue or gray that are colored the same color as the soil, they're pretty hard to see. The lighter, brighter, whiter colored rocks are pretty easy to see from halfway across the field, especially since they've been rained on in the fall and in the spring after we've chisel plowed, and the rain tends to wash the rocks off. Then you can see them pretty well. Okay, another thing, how do you control all of the functions of the rock picker with only the 2 hydraulic remotes on the tractor? Because the rock picker has 4 functions. All right, here's how we're able to, there's another rock right there. Just a second. Okay, here's how we're able to perform so many tasks with only 2 hydraulic levers. We have these 3 switches. That is where the magic happens. The blue lever, pull it back and it spins the reel to flip the rocks in. Push it forward and it spins the reel in the opposite direction. If you get some dirt on the front of the basket, I like to spin it backwards and flip the dirt right back off the front. Now the other lever, if you don't have any of the switches down, won't do anything. If you have the blue switch down, now your number 1 remote is in charge of raising and lowering the basket. If you have the white switch down, it's gonna dump the box. This happens really slowly. You can almost not see it happening. I'm not gonna dump it all the way because I don't want to dump them out in the field. And then if you flip the red switch down, look at this. It folds the implement in for road transport so that it's narrower going down the road. And yes, if you have all of the switches down at the same time and you move the lever, it will do all 3 functions at the same time. It doesn't do any of them particularly well, but it does them all at once. All right, I'm gonna put the GoPro on my hat so you can kind of get the full experience, the first person look at what it's like to run the rock picker from my perspective. All right, there we go. So now you are running the rock picker virtually. There's another big one over here. We gotta get it. That's a pretty big rock. Man, sure makes easy work of it. Rock picking is one operation where I tend to use the foot feed a lot in this tractor. I set the hand throttle at about 13 to 1400 RPMs, just so when I'm stopping and taking off, it's not lugging the engine way down. But then I like to use the foot feed if I've got to kind of speed up, get around a wet hole, or if I've got a rock that I'm headed to in a hurry. The foot feed's really handy. I can keep my hand on the controls. Sometimes when you're digging and pulling a rock out, you need to give it just a little more fuel, and I can keep my hands on the hydraulic levers while I'm running the foot feed. That's really handy. There's another, and another. This might be a spot where we're gonna have to get out for just a little bit. Once in a while, you find a spot where it's easier to get out. Like I said, these rocks look pretty small from the cab, but they're definitely big enough to do some damage to equipment. That was lots of fun. I don't know how you guys are enjoying this being strapped on my head. First person footage. Maybe you're getting a little seasick. You'll have to let me know in the comments section what you think about it. I think we'll switch back right now. Oh, I think I just found something cool. Okay, it's not that cool. It's just an old shovel from a field cultivator, but it's definitely cool that I found it today instead of finding it stuck through the side of a tire on the planter tractor or the combine or the grain cart later on. It used to be that the hardest part of picking up rocks was getting off and picking them up and throwing them into whatever you're putting them in, the loader bucket or onto a wagon. But now the actual picking up process is really easy. It's the looking around and finding them that's still just as hard as it always has been. Maybe even harder now, because back in the day when we were using open cab tractors, there wasn't the dust and the glare on the windows, because there weren't any windows. You might drive for a long time and never see a rock, but as soon as you see one, I almost guarantee you're going to find more. They tend to hang out in large groups. They don't know much about social distancing. Well, it's getting to be that time of day when the sun's getting low in the sky. I wish I had my sunglasses when I'm headed that way. And it's almost impossible to see the rocks when I'm headed that way. So I've only got 2 more passes or so before I'm done with this big farm. I can really see a wide swath of land really well right now, headed away from the sun. As I'm headed into the sun, I'm probably not going to be able to see any rocks at all. It's just everything looks the same color. This is actually an application where it would be kind of sweet to have auto steer in the rock picking tractor. When you're going across the chisel plowed land looking one way, you see the old corn rows and you tend to follow those. And then when you're going back the other way, a lot of times you tend to see the chisel plow angle and you sort of start following that. It's harder than you would think to just drive straight back and forth across the field. Does anybody out there have GPS auto steer on their rock picking tractor? Let me know if you do. All right, that's it. Let's get headed up the road. Flip our red switch. Fold it in. That's a pretty good mountain of rocks that I'm glad we won't be running over with the VT or the planter or running them into the combine this year. Definitely a worthwhile field operation, picking up rocks. Well, that's pretty much going to do it for this midweek rock picking special. I hope if you're stuck at home, you're finding something to do to keep your sanity. I'm trying to help out by giving you an extra video this week. I hope for those of you that have to go out and about that you're finding ways to stay safe and stay healthy. I appreciate your support. You're watching this video. Please like it, comment if you have a question, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet done so. Thanks a lot for riding along. I'll see you next time.